plenty of time. I don't know how I got the tab of being an outlier. 75 graduate, coached and taught. I don't know how you get in the inner circle, but I'll keep trying. My wife's here now. Of course, Neil Murphy said they finally got the right Strickland. Well, Father, when I think of Father, and so many people here think of the same thing, we think of his short masses. So, with Morgan's help, I did some research, and sure enough, he's second in the country. There's a rabbi in Sacramento that can do that. And I don't know what the Jewish Mass is like in today's Yom Kippur, but your Father's record is 14 minutes and 37 seconds. And that's the Holy Mass. And, I think it was halftime of the game, and Morgan kept going. 14 minutes, 37 seconds. So that was in Cumberland, and I guess the rabbi get it in 14:12. He's right there. Some little known facts about Father Damian, some of you may know. When he got to seminary, he changed his last name. Shortened it. Shortened, yeah. No, actually, they threw in some, they knew he was going to teach typing. They threw in about 7 or 8 vowels. They said, this will help you when you start doing the ASDFJKI. Sure enough, it really helped him this first year as a typing teacher. That was really good. Now, Father's very proud of his Polish heritage, and I checked with Tom Konchowski, and I said, would this be an appropriate time to tell a Polish joke? And he said, absolutely. But it's not a joke, it's a true story. So what happened in this particular night was St. Peter was up at the gates of heaven. And, he was up there waiting, and people would die, and they'd come up to him. So there he was, and here came a guy up to the gate, and he said, I'm here, I'd like to get to heaven. He said, oh, that's great. He says, what's your name? He says, Vincent Van Gogh. And he says, oh, of course, the great painter. I can see you get, the one ear. And he says, we got a new policy here at the gates of heaven. He says, you have to prove who you are. And he says, oh, okay. He says, you have a whiteboard or something? So he says, yeah. So they bring a whiteboard in, and he starts drawing and painting, gets some colored markers, and he gets 5 minutes. Peter says, obviously you're saying you're Vincent Van Gogh. He says, please come into heaven. So he walks in. So Peter's there, and he's waiting, and somebody comes up, kind of real frizzy hair, and he says, I'd like to get into heaven. He says, oh, great. What's your name? He says, I'm Albert Einstein. He says, oh, yeah, of course. You get the hair. And he says, Albert, he says, I'm sorry, but we have this new policy whereby you have to prove who you are to get into heaven. He says, can you prove you're Albert Einstein? He says, can I use the whiteboard? He says, sure. So he takes this out, and he starts E equals MC squared, and, it's pretty clear. And he says, hey, Albert, you're obviously Dr. Einstein. Please come into heaven. Next guy comes up is Father Damian. So he walks up, and he says, I'd like to get into heaven. He said, that's fine. He said, what's your name? He says, I'm Father Damian from Damian. He says, oh. He says, well, we have a new policy whereby, you have to prove who you are before you get into heaven. Can you prove you're Father Damian? He says, he had a little attitude, to be honest with you. So St. Peter said, whoa. He said, for example, he tried to, settle him down a little bit. He said, Vincent Van Gogh and Albert Einstein just had to prove who they were. And they came in here, and he goes, Vincent Van Gogh, Albert Einstein, who are they? He says, come on in, Father. So he got it. Everybody's mentioned it, but Father taught me in typing, and I think I only got kicked out maybe 9 times, which was a low for me. And tremendous teacher, and of course he's with the basketball program immediately. Came back and taught with him. He's been what does a young kid need? But somebody that doesn't change. That's somebody that's unwavering. That's somebody, as Mike hinted at, that you can count on. And that's what he's been for decades of us. For decades of us. He doesn't change. You can count on him in good and bad. He's a Damatha man all the way through. Can we ever forget his laugh? I don't know where it comes from, but it's really far down. Can't draw it up on notice, huh, Father? Okay. And that's who he's been for all of us, and certainly he was for me as a student and as a colleague. And you know, he's a guy that, again, he's somebody that I think Matthew represents to us in so many ways. It's a strength in our life. It's a backbone. It's something that we can count on, and he personifies that. Thank you, Father.